Hey guys, it's Leo Stargazer. I'm here with our full moon reading. This is a full moon in Aquarius. Today is Tuesday, August 3rd, and let's get started. I'll be doing a full moon spread today with the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, and the spread that I use for a full moon in Aquarius features the star. The star is usually associated with Aquarius. There's some similar imagery. And so we'll be using this card kind of as a significator, but also to meditate on, and also as a legitimate part of the spread as we'll see it as a whole. So I'm going to shuffle my deck while looking at the star and contemplating the star. So ideas of hope, tapping into intuition, balancing creative flow. And then, of course, it's Aquarius, so we have intellect and uniqueness. My intention for this spread is intellectual independence. So, keeping with Aquarius, I want us to remember our most unique self. I want us to honor that. And this spread will definitely help us with that. And since it's a full moon, guys, I want us to make sure that we are remembering our intention that we set on the new moon. On that new moon in Cancer, I want us to remember what our intention was there and try to think about how that came to fruition. What this journey towards the full moon helped us with, what we learned, what we were able to accomplish, what maybe we know now that we want to accomplish and can reflect on that before the next new moon. But for now, let's focus on the idea of completion and wholeness, but with a specific focus on our intellectual independence. So I'm going to shuffle the deck. And while I shuffle, I am thinking about my own intellectual independence. So the stuff that I know. The stuff I know. It's kind of what I'm going to be thinking while I'm doing this. But since that's really broad, I really just am focusing on how I view myself as an intellectual. How I view myself as an independent intellectual. The knowledge that I have that I know is mine. Maybe it's a way that I think about something uniquely. Maybe it's a way that or a topic that I'm specifically interested in. But in this case, because it's a full moon, I'm also thinking about the idea that what I know is known to me. Thinking about how I have ownership of the knowledge I've gained. I have ownership of my intellectual journey. It's my own. I have beliefs that I believe that are my own. And I want to hold on to those today and really trust that I know what I know. So let's go ahead and bring the deck into chaos here. Again, repeating the intention, intellectual independence with an idea to completion. Also, meditating on the star, making sure that she's in the back of our mind. Making sure we're really looking at that imagery. Pouring the cups, one on water, one on land. Aquarius is an air sign as well, so thinking about all of those elements, thinking about all of the vibes that air signs bring. And remember, guys, here, focus, center, take some deep breaths. Why don't we do that while I split the deck and then choose a stack. Here I'm just letting my senses guide me, letting my intuition guide me. All right. Okay, so then I will hold to the deck for just a moment, take a deep breath, and then repeat my intention one last time. Intellectual independence. And then we will begin our spread. So the star in this spread holds position right here. The spread will kind of go out this way. The star is almost like our guiding light from right here. Okay, the first card we'll draw is right beneath the star. This position is, what quirks can I embrace? So remember, we're talking about intellectual independence, but with that comes a big sense of uniqueness. Being unique, our unique self. It's not just about owning our knowledge base, it's about trusting that and moving forward with that and exuding that in our own independent way, in spite of what other people think, in spite of what's traditional. Not here, not with Aquarius, and definitely not with the full moon, where we have this idea of completion and wholeness. So let's draw the card for what quirks can I embrace. The card that I draw is the Page of Swords reversed. So before I get too deep into the Page of Swords reversed, I'm going to draw the rest of my cards. I want to get a complete idea of the spread so I can incorporate the star better. And, it's a full moon, so I want to see the whole picture from the start. I will be interpreting them in my head as I kind of am laying them out. But for now, let's just draw the rest of the deck and then I'll interpret this. I will go ahead and mention the positions as I'm drawing, but we'll go over them in the end. Or once they're all drawn. Okay, and then the second position is, how can I be more expressive? So how can I express the knowledge that I have? How can I express my uniqueness in the best way? The card that I draw here is the Nine of Wands reversed. Okay, that's very interesting. All right, the next card that I draw is in the what is my ideal world position. So this is a very introspective spread, but it's also a very hopeful spread with the star. We don't want to forget about that. With a center and a focus on uniqueness. So let's go, what's my ideal world? The card that I draw is the Knight of Wands. Okay? Then we'll draw our last card right here, and then we'll go over this. I'm very interested in this. And finally, the final card is in the position of, how can I inspire others? So we were very introspective. We're talking about our uniqueness. We're talking about our intellectual independence. But ultimately, we want to shine like the moon out. We want to use our unique perspective. We want to use the knowledge that we've gained that we know is our own. We want to use our intellect to inspire and help others, to be innovative. And let's see what that card tells us. How can I inspire others? And I get the King of Pentacles. Oh, right. Okay, so here's my spread. We have the Star, Page of Swords, Nine of Wands, Knight of Wands, and King of Pentacles. What I noticed right from the start is there's a good balance here. I see wands, I see swords and pentacles, and then in the star, even though it's a major arcana, she's obviously has cups. So even though Aquarius is an air sign and the star is associated with that, there obviously is some water imagery in here as well. There's definitely literal cups imagery. So let's go over each position with the intention of intellectual independence. Okay, so with the Page of Swords in the position of what quirks can I embrace? I think here it's what it's kind of saying for us is we may be especially prone to overthinking situations. We may be especially prone to trying to be above everything, trying to stay aloof from particularly like difficult situations, but that may not be something we're super successful at. And so the way we kind of combat that is either by running inside of ourselves or by relying on some kind of protective, potentially defensive posture in order to avoid certain kinds of situations. And it may not be just to avoid negative situations. It may just be to avoid some social situations. The way that can be a quirk is the way that you do that specifically. I'm sure we all have some kind of way that we try to stay above it all, whether we're successful or not. And I think in terms of embracing a quirk, I think that maybe it's saying here that to look back a little bit on the last couple weeks from the new moon and see where you were defensive, how you effectively protected yourself, I think is key. And I think in spite of what society thinks or what, others think about how you protected yourself from a certain situation, or even just from your own thoughts, specific thoughts you didn't want to deal with, things like that, that however you approach that, whatever judgment people gave, whatever perceived judgment you thought was happening, I think it's saying here to embrace the unique way that you protect yourself. That's how I'm going to view this, actually. That's how I'm going to view this position in the spread. Embrace the unique way you protect yourself. Let's start out with that. Let's go on to the second card, though, because I'm hoping that the rest of these will kind of inform, since we have such a good balance here. So this position where the Nine of Wands reversed came up is, how can I be more expressive? So I think that's tying into this. I think it's saying own how you protected yourself. Own your own unique way of protecting yourself. But here, how can we be more expressive? I think is saying, this is how, though, you can either express that unique way of protection or express yourself in a way that makes you feel more comfortable so you don't have to protect yourself so much. And I think in that case, with the Nine of Wands reversed, I think what we're seeing is almost the idea that you want to maybe break down your defenses to a degree. I think it's saying the best way to express yourself is maybe to find a way where protecting yourself so much with the Page of Swords reversed, overprotecting yourself here, I think it's saying that it's kind of hinting, the Nine of Wands reversed, that there can be a sense of exhaustion in that. So whatever way over the last couple weeks in particular that you were successful or unsuccessful at protecting yourself, in the Nine of Wands reversed, we're seeing that the importance of finding out what worked and what didn't is what's important. Because what didn't work probably exhausted you. It probably didn't ultimately protect you. It probably made you, potentially, if it did work, it might have made you too defensive. So again, we want to self-analyze. We want to own what we own. We want to say, okay, I reacted that way. I protected myself this way. It either worked or it didn't. But I need to learn where, first of all, what worked. And second of all, even if it did work, what exhausted me to the point where I was unable to express myself. So it's a little complicated. But I think, again, if we go back to the star, that's the key here. The freedom in her, the hope in this image, the combination of water, air, earth, and connection with passion, a little bit of fire. We want to make sure that we aren't totally closed off here, even though we want to rely on our defense mechanisms. We want to rely on our protection mechanisms more than being self-defensive. Because I think in the Nine of Wands reversed, we're seeing self-defensiveness not working. So we want to protect ourselves here, trust what worked, especially if we felt like it was some kind of unique approach. Trust that. Make sure that when we do lock into what did work to protect ourselves, that we're able to sustain that. This needs to be sustainable self-preservation and self-protection. That quirk we're embracing here is our unique ability to do that. If we have some doubts about that, then probably start rethinking this trait. Rethink that quirk, rethink self-defensiveness, rethink how you protect yourself if you're feeling exhausted. If not, then this card is probably telling us here the best way to express ourselves is to make sure that we are being protective of ourselves, not defensive. But let's keep going, see what else we have. Okay. In the third position of what is my ideal world, I have the Knight of Wands. So I think he is here to kind of tell us how to balance this kind of conflicting idea of protecting ourselves, but then kind of being exhausted by protecting ourselves. Be unique in the way that you are defensive, but don't be so self-defensive that you burn out and isolate and are just world weary. Because the Knight of Wands is pure action, pure energy, pure drive in its most basic form. In the ideal form of what a fire sign means or what fire energy is. The Knight of Wands is here. He's not so great at commitment. He's not so great at finishing, but he is really, really excellent about sparking, about starting. So if you think about what is my ideal world, this again is leading us to going outside of ourselves and into a place where we are able to create drive, passion, movement in our world, and not just inside of ourselves, but in the world around us. We'll get to how we can inspire others here, but here we're talking about our ideal world. Apparently, the Knight of Wands is saying that think about how your ideal world begins. What is the fire that creates your ideal world? I think it's a perfect balance to protecting ourselves. It's almost also this linear thing of, okay, I trust the way my unique approach to self-protection, I trust that. I've analyzed how that can be good or bad for me, how it's essential to protect myself, but that I need to make sure I'm not hurting myself in the process. I want to tie in the star as well, because I still have hope. I still want to be a part of the world. I still want to involve myself in everything, but I want to protect myself without getting exhausted. Here's how I envision that. Here's how this begins. To create the world where I can stay safe, but also be hopeful. Also create. Also go with flow. I can do that if I bring fire into my life. If I bring passion and drive, just for the sake of it. Igniting something, starting something. That's what I'm seeing. And I think in terms of a full moon spread, particularly depending on what your intention was for the new moon, I think the Knight of Wands here is saying, while we may be closing one page, while we may have locked into this quirk, maybe that was something we learned, was how to protect ourselves without getting exhausted and still being expressive. I think the Knight of Wands is saying, now that you know that, bask in that today, with the full moon in particular, own that fully, and trust yourself, but then know that that's just the beginning. Then you can be strong with your armor on your horse and really push forward to create something new, to instill drive and momentum. So let's move on to the final card to see how we can inspire others, because that position is How can I inspire others? And that is the King of Pentacles. The King of Pentacles in an inspiration position is really awesome, I think. He is authoritative, he is powerful, but he's also absolutely confident and calm in the position that he's in. He is one with nature. He is connected with his power. He knows what he needs to know about what he owns, what he's earned, what he can do. So how can we inspire others? We can trust ourselves fully. Our authority comes from our belief in ourselves. And that's what the King of Pentacles is saying. We can be an inspiration to others if we hold to what we know we are, what we know our responsibilities are, and then use that with ease. Enforce that, assert our authority with ease. We will be one with nature, we'll be one with our surroundings, we'll be one with ourselves, and we'll be at peace with our responsibilities. So to kind of go over it all, I think, because I want to tie it back, because I think if we end up here, that's a beautiful place. Full moon in Aquarius, with the star as our guide, where hope is visible, connection with flow is visible, being able to create because of a connection. Think about him too. We have our own unique way of protecting ourselves, our own unique way that we now know, and we've learned from this phase of the lunar cycle, we know now that we're locked into this, how we protect ourselves. We also know, because we've analyzed that, how to do that, how to protect ourselves in the best way possible without burning out. Where we still have our defenses, but they're not overburdening us. They're protecting us, but we're still able to drive forward. We're still able to be expressive and express what we want our world to look like, to start the next phase of the lunar cycle, to start new intentions. So if we can protect ourselves, if we can be guided by the stars, keep ourselves protected in our own unique way and trust ourselves there, but not burn out so that we can express ourselves correctly to bring about this drive, we can inspire others by being in our full, complete authority. We'll avoid burnout because with the King of Pentacles, we know ourselves. We know our roles. We can fulfill them authoritatively and assertively, but in the most calm, centered way. If we can do all of that, we can exude the star energy. We can promote hope in the world. We can be inspirational for ourselves and others. And we can only do that, though, if we are our most unique individual self. This is about you. This is about us individually. Our intellectual independence, to go back to our intention. If we trust our intellect in particular, if we trust that we know what we know, that we've learned what we've learned from the new moon to the full moon, that we trust that, we lock in, but we know there's more. We know we're ready to bring passion in, to bring stability in. We know we're able to also stay with this creative, hopeful vision, but we're protected. That's the key. That's our protective, that's our truest defense. That's our truest way to protect ourselves, is to trust ourselves. Know what we know. We've done the work of analyzing to make sure that you're not locking into something that's going to hurt you ultimately, because we know now that if we lock into that, lock into our own unique perspective, we can bring fire, passion, stability, hope, dreams, vision. We can move all of that forward to the next cycle, as the full moon now will start waning and moving to a new moon. From here on, I want us to lock into what we know about ourselves. Trust yourself, and you will find your authority, as long as you don't forget about your fire and passion, as long as you trust your creative vision, your hopes for the future. for how you want the world to be, what you want your world to be. Once you do that, and today's the day for that, lock in, we can be in authority, but also at peace, in a full, complete vibe. That's what I'm hoping turns out for you today. Remember, you are unique. You are intellectually independent. What you know. Trust that. Bring that fire in, guys. Stay peaceful. And don't forget about the stars. Happy full moon. Stay calm and chill. I'll see you next time.